All right, well, we have our caller issue situated here, so we are going to welcome former guest Asley V. Robinson and our new guest today, Jason Inman. He also hosts DC's All Access. Jason, Asley, thank you guys for calling in. How's it going today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm new and fresh out of the box.
Yeah, thanks so much for calling in, guys. We're very excited to talk to you. We know you have a project that you are going to be talking about, so why don't you talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, we have a Kickstarter out right now for our first 5-issue comic book miniseries called JIupiter Jet. It's about a 16-year-old girl who steals a jetpack and does what any 16-year-old girl does. She steals from the rich and gives to the poor. And it's an all-ages adventure comic book that we're very proud of, our first comic book miniseries, and we have it on Kickstarter right now at JIupiterJetComic.com.
Okay, I'm actually gonna share that out right now on our social media. JIupiter
Thank
Jet.
you.
No problem.
JIupiter Jet. At first, Ashley, I thought I heard a 60-year-old, and I was like, oh wow, a 60-year-old finds a jetpack and
That's volume 5.
yes, and deals with the battles of Social Security. Just saying, it could be a nice spin-off, maybe JIupiter Jet, ends up in an alternate reality universe and, has to deal with their 60-year-old self. So that might be a nice
Well,
twist.
I think that would be that wouldn't be as fun of a comic book to read because I think all she's worried about is whether Matlock is going to air tonight.
Murder, She Wrote on it.
I have to get back for my stories.
So we're sending that out right now to the masses. But that's awesome. What else you got going on right now with the we know you got the webpage going on with the Geek History Lesson. What's going on with that? Any updates with that right now?
We're actually right about to hit our 150th episode on Geek History Lessons, so we're doing a very special lesson, and we're actually hoping that for anybody who listens to the Geek History Lesson Extra podcast, that they want to go to any of our pages and ask us, this or that, kind of like gun-to-the-head, high-stakes questions so that we can answer them over there. That's kind of where Geek History Lesson is at. It's very exciting. We're going to talk about a big Batman-y type character that I've been looking forward to talking about for a long time.
Ooh,
nice. And, speaking of Batman, we wanted to actually bring this up to you guys with the whole Ben Affleck playing Batman, Batfleck. We wanted to ask you what your thoughts were with him now being out of the director chair of the Batman movie.
My thoughts are basically this. I think Ben Affleck made a smart move because I, by no means, have any illusions about playing Batman as being easy. I think wearing a suit sucks. I think it gets very sweaty, and I think it's hard to move around. And I think anybody in this world would have a challenge directing themselves as Batman. Also, I think it's a kind move on Ben's part because I don't think many of the gaffers on set want to be yelled at by Batman. I wouldn't.
I kind of do.
Yeah, okay, all right. Like, pick up that light, go over there. I don't want that. But I don't know. I think it's a smart move that he said several times that playing Batman is very difficult for him. You have to get into the anger of the character and stuff like that. And I think that it's a smart move by him because he realizes that he's like, I don't want to sink the movie, or I don't want the movie to be anything less than excellent. And I want to make sure that somebody great can hold me to task as Batman.
And I think it's definitely a bummer that it's not going to be him directing because he's a great director.
Yeah, 100%.
I know everyone wants to be like, oh, but Live by Night. I think having one movie that's, kind of middle of the road in a really great career is not a failure.
I still like Live by Night, so.
And I think it's kind of silly that people want to paint it that way, but I think if he can't handle it for a number of reasons, and look, it would be tough for any of us who are speculating on this from home. I think it's better that he steps down now and we can find someone who can be part of the process. I say we as if I'm somehow involved. From the very beginning, who's not coming in halfway through or when they're done pre-production, so that it can really be someone's vision. And I hope that they get somebody who is as passionate and as skilled as Mr. Affleck to fill the role.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think you both have a good understanding, and I was saying earlier to Sean here that I can understand his passion for such a role. I mean, it's a very iconic. You want to get it right, but as a whole, DC Warner hasn't gotten the whole universe down pat yet, like Marvel. And I think it's very smart business wise too to step down because when Jason, like how you were talking about, being able to get into character, go back and forth, and having to then be director and who wants to be yelled at by Batman. Some do, some don't. But at the same time, it's tough to come into a franchise like that and hit the nail on the head as the character. But we all know he's an accomplished director, but to be an accomplished director in the comic book world of movies, it's very tough, and it's even tougher in the Warner DC universe. And I think it's a smart move just to save face, because let's face it, if he were to do something, I'm not saying it wouldn't be terrible, but with how DC is handling stuff with Warner's, you don't want to set the guy up for any type of failure, and certainly one wrong move could make him the face of failure for a franchise. And I think it's good that they shifted that responsibility away from him, just because it has been very muddy with these movies that DC has been coming out with lately.
Well, fair point. Like I do it, but like everything in his official statement, this was his choice. Like he was the one. And if you read that statement too, you can kind of tell that he's kind of regretful about it. Like he really wanted to do it, and he's like, I just can't make it work. I will have a heart attack making this movie if I try this.
Yeah.
Batman's not worth a heart attack, contrary to popular belief.
But the flip side of this is that anybody that I always say the statement that anybody that brings up like Warner Brothers having problems and stuff like that, creating a shared universe on screen is very difficult. And I just want to point out that we are at the same point for where Marvel solidified their universe, because Marvel, hit it out of the gate with Iron Man, kind of like made us feel like, with Incredible Hulk, really didn't excite us at all with Iron Man 2, and then I thought nailed it with Thor 1, which was their fourth movie. Yeah. And I just want to point out that Wonder Woman coming up soon is their fourth movie, could be DC Universe's Thor.
I agree there, but I think just with so many of the other movies that they have on their slate having so many problems, like with The Flash and all this Black Adam, Shazam stuff, it just sounds like they put too much on their plate all at once without really having the time to really think it out and get the process going. That
I want to come back and argue that a little bit. Flash has definitely had a lot of people come through the creative process.
Yeah, they've lost 2 directors.
I think DC is under a certain amount of pressure and a microscope now that other productions aren't. A lot of movies do cycle through a lot of directors and a lot of writers, and you only see one screenwriter get the credit on the final script. I just think because we're now in a time where superheroes are as big as they are, the internet, you get to see more of the process than we ever saw before. And when Marvel was developing their Phase 1, there wasn't as much pressure. So I feel like people really want to say that DC is like struggling in their pre-pro when it's actually, I would say, still within the fairly normal range of flip-flopping. It's amazing a movie gets made at all, really.
See, but I think it's more self-inflicted though, because there's nobody saying that they have to make all these announcements. They want to do it to garner interest and get buzz going. But at the end of the day, like, put a statement out that you're going to be doing this and focus on that. You don't have to announce Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman, Black Adam, Shazam coming up like 5-6 years down the line yet. Focus on what you're doing now and make it good.
I would argue that that's the standard now, and that Marvel set that standard that you announce your slate well in advance. We have Star Wars movies announced for the next decade.
5 years.
We didn't need any of those either, but that's the machine, and that's the machine that you have to play with it now.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But if you're not doing it right, then maybe you should kind of pull back on that. I think Marvel has the formula
I would say that a movie
down.
that makes $100 million is doing it right, regardless of whether people like it or not.
Yeah, that's true. But the same can be said about Transformers. Yeah, so it's very unfortunate that he's not going to be doing that. Ben Affleck, I'm talking about. We want to see him directing because, like you said, he is such an amazing director with The Town,
and that's not
Argo.
to say that. That's not to say that like we couldn't see a future Batman movie directed by him. Like there's nothing to say that Batman 2 couldn't be directed by him. It's just that he just had to step away from Batman 1 because again, it's one of those things like. This will be the solo Batman film that will follow up the Christopher Nolan trilogy, and that's a high bar.
So definitely. But the one thing that's like sticking in my craws about it is, he did all these talk show appearances like Conan, things like that, Jimmy Fallon, and he said he was doing it, and then he started backtracking on it a little bit, and then the quote that he said was that he's not going to do it if the script isn't good. And then he backed off of it altogether. So does that mean the script isn't good?
You know what? I don't know. That's an interesting statement that you stay with that. The only thing that I know is that it's not even finished. So, I don't know. I literally think that this is just Ben being like, I can't do all of these jobs.
Right.
And what is the job that I maybe think that I should step away from? I mean, he can't step away from Batman. And he was a writer first before he was a director. He won the Oscar for Good Will Hunting. So maybe maybe at the end of the day, he's like, I'll have more fun writing the script than directing the script, and that's the one that I got to go.
And then another, like Chris Terrio was also co-wrote that script with him for Batman, and he also did Argo too. And so it kind of leads me to believe that he didn't have faith in his own writing partner as well because he didn't like what was being written.
Well, I don't know if it says that because I just think it says that again, like I just think he gave up the job that he realized would be the hardest.
But it might have been the thing too, or maybe they wrote a script and they didn't like it. So
yeah,
now
maybe.
It's going to go to it's going to go to rewrites. Like there's going to be at least 10 drafts of that before it hits the screen.
Oh,
anyway,
easily 10 drafts.
Yeah, we know Flash is getting a page 1 rewrite now too.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's tough, and it's tough to speculate on when you're not in the room.
Yeah. I mean, we can sit here and think what we're thinking all day long and talk about, but we're not a fly on the wall, so we're just postulating here.
So I mean, to piggyback that, since we see a lot of these, not too many bright spots in the DC universe right now. What would you say is a bright spot? What is a highlight for you when you're looking down the line at some of these movies? I mean, it could be anything. I just want to know what
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman, okay.
Wonder Woman, 100% Wonder Woman. Every report coming out of that movie, everything is awesome. Wonder Woman is Patty Jenkins' dream movie. If you can go back and you can find an interview with Patty Jenkins on her Oscar-winning movie Monster, and they asked her 10 years ago, they were like, if you could make any movie in Hollywood, what is the movie you would make? She answered Wonder Woman.
I also want to add on to that it's a big move for Warner Brothers DC as a company, because if you want to look at the preceding movies as through the lens of them being not successful, then this is a movie that stars a woman and stars a person of color, which is their 4th movie, and it's going to be 17 or 18 movies before Marvel gets to either of those. So if DC pulls this movie off, and if Warner Brothers pulls this movie off, it's going to be it's basically an ambassador of goodwill all on its own, and it's going to change people's perception of what they can do as a production company and what they can do within this franchise that I think could be really exciting.
I'm also really excited for Aquaman, just because I think Jason Momoa is freaking fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited for Aquaman.
I love his attitude, and I think like if we can get a superhero movie with that type of attitude, and I like the look of everything they've shown so far. Like I think that movie's going to be so different from everything we've ever seen, and it's just going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really glad they decided to not go with the classic Aquaman blonde-haired, short blonde-haired look. That would be be a little silly.
Everybody in the universe is glad that they didn't go with that.
Jason, do you think this Aquaman is now getting the build up right now, do you think this will prompt a Submariner character development for Marvel?
I would love to say yes to that. The problem with that is I believe Namor is owned by 20th Century Fox, and we know that 20th Century Fox hates everything to do with the Fantastic Four. So
I think it was
what was it? Iron Man? No, it was
who has the distribution rights for Hulk?
Universal.
Well, Marvel and Universal co-own them.
Yeah, I think Namor falls under that too.
But it was
Namor in that deal too. Oh, interesting.
I think it.
But it was Winter Soldier that we saw on
little
the
Atlantis thing on the map.
Yeah.
I think as long as he doesn't have his own, like with Hulk, as long as he doesn't have his own solo movie, he's allowed to be a part of it. But Namor is just something we haven't really gotten any definite answers to.
With Hulk, it's that Marvel can't make a movie with Hulk in the title without giving money to Universal.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he falls under that same umbrella with Universal as well.
Interesting. I would be surprised because Namor is a really tough sell. Like, at least with Aquaman, you can say Aquaman, and even if people are like, oh, it's the guy that talks to fish, like, people know Aquaman. Like, I could go to my mother and say Aquaman. She knows who he is. But if I say Namor, my mother is like, Gesundheit.
Yeah.
I also think a lot of people, like, in the nerd community like to associate Namor with mutants, which Marvel Cinematic Universe is obviously not going to touch with 10-foot pole.
Right. But, I mean, you can get around that the way they did Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, too.
Yeah, true.
That's true.
If Aquaman hits big, you can guarantee that Namor movie will be, like, fast-tracked.
And who knows, maybe we'll be getting Fantastic Four coming back soon with the way that's gone.
That'd be great.
I've heard some people have some theories out there that they think that Marvel Phase 4 is going to be all about the Fantastic Four, and that 20th Century Fox has
a Sony deal.
Has a Sony deal like with Spider-Man.
I think they do too, because you're getting getting these new X-Men TV shows coming out. So they obviously had to give them the rights to be able to do that. You have Legion coming out very soon, and then Bill and I a little bit ago were just talking about the new X-Men series coming out with Bryan Singer's directing the pilot. So there has to be some kind of reciprocation going back and forth. If they're not just going to let up these TV rights for nothing. And Fox is just sitting on Fantastic Four and not losing money on it.
Yeah,
so
there's
they're
too much
to do
money out there
with
to be made.
Yeah, especially when they feel like, because I think Spider-Man Homecoming is going to hit big.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I can't wait for that.
I mean, Spider-Man is the setup right now for post Infinity Wars, where that's the next phase right there. It's going to be Spider-Man. It's going to be Captain Marvel. We're going to get a whole new slew of characters that... it's gonna pass the torch, and I mean, face it, Spider-Man is the top selling, for merchandise of any Marvel character. I mean, he's the face of the franchise. So to have him, young now in the titular role is ideal. So when in a few more years, when we pass Infinity Wars and he's all grown up. It's a whole new platform of Marvel movies to be established there, and if we are lucky enough to at that time to have Fantastic Four, weaved back into the storylines, it's just going to be great at that point.
Agreed.
Awesome.
I want to get back to JIupiter Jet while we still have you guys. So, what was the inspiration behind that? Where did that idea come from?
So about a year and a half ago, Jason and I were out having lunch together, and I said, I have an idea for a comic, but it's just the name, and it's JIupiter Jet. What do you think? And he immediately was like, oh, that's great, but here's how we could actually do that. And threw out a bunch of really cool ideas, and we started brainstorming and writing furiously on our iPhones like you do. And we got all the details like, oh, it's a redheaded girl, and she has a jetpack, and she has a little brother who's really, really smart, and he has a cat. And almost everything that we came up with is featured pretty heavily on our Kickstarter and actually made it into the first issue. And, that's kind of the genesis of this, half-baked idea that I had and how it came to life.
Yeah, it was like a perfect collaboration almost. It was just a lot of fun.
Oh, that's like what we do here. We just have a lot of fun, too.
Yeah. Sometimes we're drunk when we have fun.
I know we didn't get drunk today, and I'm a little sad
and
about
it's Super Bowl Sunday, you know.
it.
Hey, real quick, are you guys watching the Super Bowl tonight?
We are not.
Heck no.
No?
I'm not a big fan of either team. So
Yeah, us either.
We definitely want to see the Patriots go down, though.
I don't know. I'm picking them to win, though.
Oh, well, fuck you,
see,
Bill.
that's where I'm leaning. I'm leaning Patriots as well. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not watching it because I don't care.
Come on, they cheated our Eagles out of the Super Bowl in 2004.
You're talking to a guy from Kansas, so Kansas City Chiefs are my if they're not, I don't care.
You got our former coach. We're outside of Philly, so you got our big red out there. While we still have you guys, Jason, you have a very big Schmoedown, movie trivia Schmoedown match coming up with Scott Mance for the championship, tag team championships. How are you feeling going into that?
I'm feeling a little nervous, but I'm feeling pretty confident because Scott Mance and I think the argument could be made, are the best team in the Schmoedown championship. And I don't mean that like best team is like we know everything. I mean best team is like we work together the best. Like we fill each other's like gaps in knowledge very well. We're I think better than most of the other teams there. And it's interesting, the team we're going against, Team Patriots, we only really have to fight one man. We really only have to stop Jeff Snyder. We don't even have to worry about JTE. And the last time we faced a one-person team, basically ETC, we blew them out of the water. So
yeah, you sure did.
I'm nervous, but also I'm very confident. I will tell you this: no matter how it goes down, I know it's going to be very close. Like I'm just telling you right now. Like I know it'll be within like 3 to 2 points. Like we whoever goes down won't lose by much. It's going to be a fight all the way to the end.
So Jason and Scott Mance, Bill, they are Team Trek.
Ooh.
So
right.
You know, both of these gentlemen have a vast knowledge of all things Star Trek. You know, a couple shows ago we had Robert Meyer Burnett on the show, and we talked a lot of Star Trek there too. So Bill is a very big Trekkie himself. Bill,
Yes.
do you have any Star Trek related questions you'd want to ask Jason?
Ooh. I don't know. You put me on the spot here. I'm not sure offhand.
Or Jason, what are you thinking about this Star Trek Discovery show that's, you know, floundering as the days go by?
Okay, and I'm worried that it's not going to happen.
That's what I said on our last show.
Yeah, they keep pushing it back, and they keep making all these announcements, and they released that trailer, I believe, last week.
Or they claim to be in production, but they're still hiring writing staff.
Yeah, they're still hiring writing staff. So
Yeah.
I'm like, how are you hiring writers? How are you shooting if nothing's if stuff isn't written?
They just got together and shot that trailer.
Yeah, I don't know. Like this I'm very worried about. I was, to be honest with you, when they first made the announcement and they said everything and they showed everything, I was like, oh, this is great. But every time they've pushed it back,
Yeah.
I've become more and more worried. And now I'm worried to the point that it's just going to go into development hell and it'll never be released.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and for me to say something like that,
It's
that
tough.
means it's some trouble.
Yeah, it's tough. I agree with you. I mean, I was saying a lot of the same things. The new trailer that just came out, I think it was earlier this past week, was really just nothing more than, you know, some pre-production, you know, like digital, you know, screenshots mixed in with really just some more pre-production. There was like I think they showed very briefly like the set, you know, in production, and there was
And a quick uniform, yeah.
yeah, the uniform, and then I think the last thing was just you heard the cloaking device of a Klingon vessel at the very end.
I didn't catch that. Well done.
Yeah, that's at the
Qapla'.
very end. Qapla', yes. Thank you, Sean. You hear that at the very end, and one thing that I was reading is that the series might hone in on the Federation Klingon alliance that, you know, was there before Kittimer and all that stuff. So I mean, we'll have to see. But like you said, I mean, everything's been pushed back so much, and I really feel that, you know, here we are 50 years later. You know, J.J. Abrams didn't have a good take on how to start off and lead the movies, even though they did well. But I feel like, you know, if there is shifts in writing and stuff like that, do they really have a good grasp on what Star Trek is, and ultimately now what it will be? And if they don't have a good idea of what that exactly looks like, then everything keeps getting pushed back, and nothing's going to be, there's no buzz that's going to be, generated enough for a new fan base, and old Trek heads like us are just going to be sitting here waiting, and we'll just we care less when it actually comes out then, and it'll just be something that we'll watch, but we won't.
Well, the most interesting challenge the new Star Trek has to be able to compete with shows like Game of Thrones, Westworld, The Expanse. Like they have got to. Star Trek can't just repeat everything we've seen before. Like they just can't give us. They can't give us TNG again in that same style.
Yeah,
they've got to step up to the game, and that's why for the longest time before they announced at Discovery, when my friends and I would talk about who should showrun the next Star Trek, I would always make the argument for the people that run Black Mirror, because Black Mirror does this thing like Twilight Zone, which was a show that was on the air when Star Trek was on the air.
Yeah.
That Star Trek was always at its best when it held up a mirror to society, and Black Mirror is the show that does that very well. And I think if you took those writers and gave them Star Trek, even the world of Star Trek, they would kick it in the ass. The other problem that people have with Star Trek is people are too precious with it. And Star Trek a lot of times needs a kick in the ass. And that's why the J.J. Abrams first movie worked so well, is because it's the perfect kick in the ass for Star Trek.
Absolutely.
Now, the problem is they just repeated it in the second movie, and that's where it kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
But I don't know. To me, I want the next Star Trek show to be like The Expanse. If you see that show on Sci-Fi,
I did just watch that the other night. Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
New Star Trek needs to be like The Expanse. Or new Star Trek needs to be like Battlestar Galactica on acid. Like that's what the new Star Trek needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, Star Trek's great. Acid can be great. I mean, sounds like a great trip to me.
Yeah, put those two hands together.
Well, because the old Star Trek was all about like colors and 60s and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so you kind of be out there. Like, I don't know. It's interesting too because I've said for years that I can't believe that nobody's made the Starfleet Academy TV show, because that seems like the perfect idea.
You could make it for streaming so easy with like 5 sets.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like right now, looking back, it's like with the way that movies work now, and Jason, I don't know if you agree with this, but after just talking about shared universes and stuff like that, don't you wish we could have gone back to when, Next Generation was overlapping DS9, and DS9 was then starting to overlap Voyager, even though DS9 and Voyager never actually cross paths on the screen, really. But don't
they did in the pilot of Voyager.
Yeah. But don't you wish now, like in a shared universe sense, I mean, we had so many Next Generation movies. Don't you wish now we could have had that shared universe with those series where, you just have all these different angles and overarching stories that, could have really contributed to a pretty cool franchise of movies?
I agree with you, and it's interesting to think, because I bring this up all the time where people talk about shared universes, and people always forget that Star Trek was the first cinematic shared universe. Like 2 TV shows and movies were all connected and all reference each other. Now I wish they would have crossed over more.
Yeah.
And fun fact, before DS9, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, did its 7th season, there was talks of not doing the 7th season and ending DS9 in a giant war movie
that would
be tied into TNG.
That would have been great because that ending season of DS9, that season that you were just referencing. I mean that was really, for me, after watching Next Generation as a kid, growing up, it was a little slow start for me with DS9. I felt the stories, in the early part were a little rough, a little cumbersome at times, but the stories definitely started to overarch as the seasons progressed. Then you got a lot more of the 2-part episodes, and there was a lot of
DS9, by the way, is my favorite Trek.
Looking back now, it is for me. It's the stories and the storylines. The seasons. I mean, I'm looking back on Netflix, and I watched the episodes. I'm like, damn, there was this many episodes in a season. But what you were just talking about, the whole, Dominion War and stuff like that was taking place. I mean, it was just like. It was the build-up that you wanted, and you're like, damn, I just want to see this play out on the big screen. First Contact, dabbled a little bit with it, and then, you got a little bit more in in Insurrection and stuff like that a little bit. But
I agree with you. I think that type of movie should have been what they made instead of Star Trek Nemesis, which was the TNG's final movie, where they just made it this adventure where the Enterprise E on a wedding trip goes to Romulus for no reason and talks to Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
And you're just like, Tom Hardy's great, but what are you doing? Like, imagine, because at that time, even Voyager was off the air.
Right.
And Captain Janeway has a cameo in Nemesis. But, imagine if they had done, this giant, Dominion War, conclusion movie instead of Nemesis and had all the captains in it. It would have been nuts. People would have gone crazy with it, and I guarantee you it would have been one of the highest-grossing TNG movies because, fun fact, before that movie, that was the rule where people used to have the rule where it was only the even Star Trek movies are good.
Yeah.
Because Star Trek 2, Wrath of Khan, Star Trek 4, Voyage Home, Star Trek 6, Undiscovered Country, and then First Contact, and then Nemesis was the next even member. But most people agree that Nemesis is not that great. So, come on.
I agree with you there. So I think we're in agreement that had such a an event come together. I mean, I think that would have really solidified Star Trek's future, and we wouldn't be in such of a rebuild process as it is right now.
Agree. We would have another television show would have happened after Enterprise if a movie like that had happened and been successful.
Yeah, because now anymore, the Discovery show, I don't know what its foundation is going to be, but all these series and stuff, even the fan made ones, now they turn to novels that no one ever really reads, and except Robert Meyer Burnett.
Well, it's interesting to me because the biggest problem with Discovery was my biggest problem with Rogue One, because I was in the middle on Rogue One.
Yeah,
I don't need any more prequels. I don't.
Yeah, you want to see the story progress.
Why do I need a movie about an event that I already know how it ends?
Right.
And Discovery is the same thing. And Star Trek and Star Wars are both so prime for sequels. I want to know what happens after Return of the Jedi. What the hell happened for 30 years in there? How did Luke lose his Jedi school? That's what I want to know about.
Yeah.
And same with Star Trek. I want to know what happens to that universe after this, because they left the Star Trek universe in the TV shows with this giant Dominion War. We settled that.
Yeah.
And then what is that universe? That war changes that's a World War II level war in that universe.
Yeah.
Everything would change. So
we'll just wait 20 years and we'll get the prequel for it.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we're going to get you guys going here. We're going to finish up some of our other stories that we have because we want to get home and watch the Super Bowl.
There you go.
When can we expect JIupiter Jet to be hitting our comic book store shelves?
Well, if you go over to our Twitter right now, JIupiterJetComics.com, you can actually pre-order the trade, which is really great. The single will be coming out digitally and in your local comic book stores probably in the last quarter of 2017. We do not have an official release date right now, which means that the trade paperback will be coming out sometime in early 2018. Yeah.
But if you go over to JIupiterJetComics.com, you can get all kinds of cool things. We have prints from Wonder Woman artist Nicholas Scott, and you'll pre-order the book basically because you're going to get it now because we fund it. But we can always use more, and we'll autograph the copy for you.
Ooh, I think we're gonna have to pick that up then. Asley, where can we find you online?
You can find me all over the internet at Asley V Robinson, and along with Mr. Jason Inman, I co-host the Geek History Lesson podcast at geekhistorylesson.com. And we do a bunch of cool, nerdy videos at youtube.com/Jawin, Jawin, including our Flash and DCTV recap shows, which are now back and running.
I am a subscriber to that channel.
Thank you.
No problem. And is there anything else that you guys wanted to get out there while we have you on the line?
No, I just you can follow me on Twitter at Jawin, Jawin, and every weekday you can find my stupid mug on DC All Access. Hey!
All right. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more
awesome
sad DC movie stories coming up soon, the way
I
that's
think you're going to be surprised. I actually think the next 4 months is going to be happy DC movies.
You got to pump us up, Jason. We got to give more hope.
With Lego Batman movie, which could be possibly the best Batman movie of all time, and Wonder Woman, I think we're going to get some good news.
I'm hoping. We need a breath of fresh air breathed into here.
Well, from me personally, thank you. On behalf of Sean as well. We want to thank you guys for calling in on this fine Sunday. We hope you enjoyed yourselves, and we'll catch up with you guys soon, hopefully.
Thank you for having us. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and remember, keep in your heads, the Kansas City Chiefs should have been in us.
All right, guys. Have a good rest of your weekend.
Take care.